up, you guys? Welcome to the May 20th edition of NBA 3-Ball presented by Establish the Run. I'm your host, Mike Gallagher. Get ready to talk some injuries for the Thursday game, recap the Wednesday action, and spend most of the time previewing Thursday. I think previewing is more fun and more useful for you guys. Hope that's cool. Talk a bit about matchups and kind of talk through it more casually. So I'm going to kind of stick with that format. Let's get to the news here. And starting with the injury report for today's Pacers-Wizards game. Not much to go on. Scott Brooks said that no setbacks for Raul Neto and Bradley Beal. Possibly more Beal run. Talk more about him specifically in a minute. Malcolm Brogdon does get the questionable tag. He's probably going to play. No word of a setback or anything like that. And then Edmund Sumner, kind of as expected, gets the Q tag. Think he's not going to play. So that could get Kellen Martin in the rotation. Certainly gives O'Shea Brissett a lot of leash. Justin Holiday also a lot of leash. And they're going to need to really use Justin Holiday in this matchup. So we'll talk more about that too in a second. Okay, so let's talk some preview for the game today. And the headline for me is, one, the Wizards swept this series 3-0. Pretty close games overall. Only a plus 5.5 net rating for the Wizards over the 3 games. But the best stat is these teams ran at a 114.4 pace, including a 119 pace game. That 114.4 is the highest pace of any season matchup around the league by a pretty decent margin too. These games are just flying all over the place. They're both in the top 5 for fewest amount of half-court possessions. That's going to be a really big factor. And the differences here with their defenses are the Pacers are one of the hardest teams to shoot threes on, but they're also one of the easiest teams to shoot at the rim on, while the Wizards defend the rim pretty well. So, I mean, that really sets up nicely for the Wizards guys overall on a matchup standpoint. But let's talk specifically about the Pacers guys. Got the Pacers matchup stats against the Wizards, and the headline is, my God, Domantas Sabonis, man, averaged 32.3 points, 14.3 boards, 9.3 assists. Just crazy domination. Nate Bjorkgren talked about how he was, quote, like a point guard in the game over the Hornets, and they really leaned on him. He has some really good splits as well with Malcolm Brogdon without Karis LeVert. So, no, LeVert definitely helps him. Per 36 with Brogdon without LeVert, 21, 11, and 7. He mauled Alex Len in the season series. So, I'll talk about how that could affect Len in a second and Gafford. But, yeah, Brogdon, I mentioned earlier, he was on pace for about 30 minutes, had 14.9 first half minutes, and they were able to keep his minutes down. So, that's really helpful. I think that Pacers have been really shady with their questionable tags, so I would just pretty much ignore that. Not ignore it, but you get what I'm saying with that. So certainly a good spot for Sabonis. I mentioned Brogdon. I think he's sneaky. He's going to probably look at 33, 35 minutes. I do think he's going to have opportunities to kind of get going offensively. He did play well in the one game, 26 and 8 assists for him. And though LeVert, he'll be more on ball. We saw him really start hot early in the season when it was a Sabonis and Brogdon-centric offense. So I think he could be kind of sneaky. A lot of risk obviously involved with his hamstring issue. Doug McDermott goes from that dream matchup. We know the Hornets allow a lot of open threes to now a much tougher one. I mentioned the Wizards defending the 3-ball more. Probably not going to be as prioritized either. So I guess he could get hot. They may put Bradley Beal on him. I don't think it's a great spot for him. So, kind of just a lukewarm play after the big game, and people may chase that as well. And then I mentioned Justin Holiday. He's going to probably have to play more. They're going to really need a wing defender against Bradley Beal with Edmund Sumner, who was the number 1 guy guarding Beal during the season. It should probably be Justin Holiday looking at, 30 minutes, fast-paced game, possibly a lot of turnovers here. So I think Justin Holiday could be pretty sneaky. And O'Shea Brissett is just rolling, man. Great game from him again. He's just on fire. I mean, what a 10-day pickup for him. And he's going to play a lot of the 4. They're going to have to use those Holiday minutes at the 2 because if Sumner's limited and obviously no Karis, they're going to need to play those 3-4s or 2s at the 2-3. So I think O'Shea has a pretty good outlook going here for minutes, and a matchup I kind of like for him with Rui Hachimura playing pretty poorly. So do think the Pacers struggle overall in this one, but lots of upside to be had with how fast this game's going to be. To the Wizards side of this, and you start with what Westbrook did to this team during the season. 3-game average, 27, 18, and 20 assists. 60 assists in 3 games. Are you kidding me? He had 32 potential assists, so it wasn't like they were even running that hot. It's just crazy. And again, this Pacers defense, they stay home way too much for their own good. That gets Westbrook in the paint a lot. So Westbrook, who has a sleeve now, not an issue according to Scott Brooks, so maybe that affected him. We saw his shot selection kind of fall apart. But yeah, 25 drives per game, 11 minutes of touch time. One of those games without Bradley Beal, so a little bit of an asterisk to that. But yeah, a big time Westbrook output. Probably going to be owned. I don't care. I think Westbrook mauls them. Bradley Beal was not as aggressive in the last two games probably because of that hamstring issue. But when he did drive, he shot it a lot. 13 drives in the last game, shot it 11 times, and then 8 on his 11 drives Sunday. So he's really getting the shots up when he is driving, but that's not where he wants to be. We want him in the upper teens, 20s. So sometimes some of that's playing time, but he's not quite in a groove offensively yet. I do think he can get it going. This is a good matchup for him. Again, they're going to be missing who they would have put on him in Edmund Sumner. I think they're going to miss him. So I think he can take advantage of that. Obviously, the pace is going to be there. So I think both those guys could thrive. Certainly prefer Westbrook if I only had to pick one. Rui Hachimura just ran horribly bad. They need him to play better. And with the way the Pacers defend the three-point line, Davis Bertans may not be as valuable in this matchup. So I think if Hachimura can get the playing time, which he should, and actually score and get out and run a little bit and get easy shots and all those stuff off cuts, I think he could be sneaky. No one's going to want to play him after that disaster game. I think he can be all right. And then as I mentioned on the Sabonis stuff, Alex Len has been really bad, and Sabonis owned him. So with the way the Pacers play defense, you want to put as much pressure on the rim as you can. And I think the best way to do that is with Daniel Gafford. So I think Gafford could be in a pretty sneaky spot here to get extended run for how they're going to want to attack this team. So really besides that, it's tough to get into Howell Neto. Didn't aggravate his hamstring. I think Garrison Matthews may be able to cut into him. And we know Ish Smith is going to be a factor. Ish Smith should have ample opportunity here. This team is going to be smallerish 1 through 3. So they could certainly get away with playing Ish next to Russ a lot. So yeah, I'm definitely fine chasing Ish. We know he's really going to be valuable when Westbrook's off the court. Very, very good per minute in those instances. Accelerated usage rate and assist percentage. So I'm definitely ready to roll the dice on Ish Smith again. To the basketball action. Great basketball action. And the Lakers, man, 20 minutes of center in the first half, 7 in the second half, 80 at the 5 was the key. And he crushed as a 5, which we've known for years now. The 80 at the 5 is dangerous. Vogel let it go. AD said he's cool with it. That's going to be big. So these Lakers centers, you can't play them in DFS at this point unless you feel it's a contrarian play. So keep in mind on that. So Wing should play more. LeBron, second half, really played well. Was way more aggressive. Was super passive in the first half. So that was big time. And yeah, Caruso was kind of the unsung hero here. Warriors dropped this one. Curry gets 37. Bench played great from JTA. Jordan Poole. Wiggins played well. Bazemore played well. Everyone kind of played pretty well here, but just the Lakers were too big late. So they've got a pretty good chance to beat the Grizzlies, who I think they have a major advantage against. Grizzlies get the win in a slugfest, get 100, and Taylor Jenkins, man, chill with that 10-minute rotation. Got away from it in the second half, but John Morant does play 41 minutes. Kind of underwhelming in that time, to be honest, but the key was Jonas Valanciunas, just domination. 23 and 23, 5 offensive rebounds. It felt like more than that. He just owned the paint. Dylan Brooks was awesome. No foul trouble for him. Dominated DeMar DeRozan. It was a Dylan Brooks game. I mean, I bash Dylan Brooks all the time, but he was spectacular. I thought Kyle Anderson played pretty well, but the starters were really the key in this game. Spurs dropped this one. Yeah, DeMar DeRozan didn't have it. Dylan Brooks locked him down. 5 of 21 from the field. DeJounte Murray was bad. 4-17 from the field. Triple-double, but was really inefficient offensively. Lonnie Walker struggled. Keldon was just so-so. Patty Mills, really quiet. 30 minutes and just doesn't do anything with it. Really let down there. I thought he'd have a much better game, and they couldn't solve Valanciunas. That was it. So that's it. We will preview the big Friday game and talk some other stuff as well. Catch you next time.